You are not reading this by coincidence. Every second that brought you here was divinely arranged. Heaven waited for this precise moment, the moment your spirit would pause long enough to hear what God is saying to you. The gates of heaven are open above your life right now. It is not tomorrow. It is not next week. It is this day. Your miracle Sunday has arrived. You have been through seasons of delay, confusion, and silence. You have prayed prayers that seemed unanswered and cried tears no one saw. But heaven did. Every whisper, every cry, every why has been recorded in the eternal archives of mercy. This message is not an algorithm's coincidence, it is divine orchestration. Something shifts in the unseen realm as these words enter your heart. There has been warfare over your destiny. The enemy tried to bury your hope beneath disappointment, but he miscalculated. He forgot that the chosen cannot stay hidden forever. There is a reason your heart is still beating, your faith still flickering. You have survived what others could not because you carry an assignment too sacred to die prematurely. Listen, heaven is not silent anymore. The delay was not denial. God was aligning everything, down to the smallest detail. The season you are stepping into will make sense of every sleepless night, every betrayal, and every closed door. You thought you lost time, but heaven redeems what the earth wastes. Today, heaven issues a divine announcement. Your name has been called. Angels have been released with new instructions carrying your miracle. They do not move by emotion, they move by divine command. And this command has been issued for you. The same God who parted the sea is parting the obstacles standing before your breakthrough. As Jesus himself declared in the Gospel of Mark, chapter 11, verse 24, "Therefore I tell you, whatever you ask for in prayer, believe that you have received it, and it will be yours." This is the moment your faith must awaken. The heavens respond not to worry, not to wishful thinking, but to unwavering belief. You must begin to see the miracle before it appears. The posture of your heart determines the manifestation in your life. You are not begging for blessings, you are stepping into what heaven has already released. The battle you fought was never to destroy you, it was to reveal you. The pressure shaped your endurance. Your tears watered the soil of your next harvest, and your endurance became proof of your authenticity. You were never meant to blend in. You were meant to carry a fragrance that darkness could not imitate. As the heavens open, you must choose to believe. Faith is the key that turns the lock. Speak it aloud. This is my miracle Sunday. You are not waiting for permission to rise. God has already authorized your breakthrough. Let every chain of limitation break under the sound of divine decree. This is the season when divine compensation is released. Where you were overlooked, you will now be recognized. Where you were rejected, you will now be celebrated. The same people who doubted you will witness the fulfillment of what God promised in secret. The closed doors will regret not opening when they had the chance. But remember, miracles require participation. You cannot simply observe, you must align. Heaven responds to faith, not feelings. As you open your mouth in agreement with heaven's word, the atmosphere around you begins to obey divine order. You are shifting realms right now, from waiting to walking, from hoping to holding. Take this message as a heavenly confirmation the curse has been reversed. The season of wandering is over, and the time of fulfillment begins now. You are stepping into a chapter where the supernatural becomes your new normal. Heaven has announced it. Earth will soon echo it. And when your testimony bursts forth, it will carry the fragrance of divine timing. Now, chosen one, if you feel this word stirring something deep inside you, don't hold it back. Lift your head, lift your heart, and seal your agreement with action. Like, share, and subscribe so the word keeps flowing through you to others who need to awaken. And in the comments below, type 777, a prophetic number of divine completion, to declare, I receive my miracle Sunday. Heaven is leaning toward you right now, listening for your agreement. Every yes from your spirit sends a ripple through eternity. Don't underestimate what obedience can unlock. This moment is sacred. Your faith is the signature heaven needed to release what was promised. Even now, angels are positioning opportunities, conversations, and alignments in your favor. Doors you never knew existed are about to open with your name written upon them. The delay is over. The divine calendar just shifted, and your breakthrough has been officially scheduled. Let this be your declaration. I step into my appointed time. You are not behind. You are right on schedule in heaven's timeline. What's coming is greater than what was lost. Rejoice. Chosen one, your miracle Sunday is only the beginning. You have been marked by heaven. From the moment you entered this world, there was something about you that set you apart. Even when you tried to blend in, the world could sense that you carried something different, something holy, something weighty, something eternal. It wasn't arrogance, it was assignment. You were never ordinary, and deep down, you always knew it. Every setback, every rejection, every moment of being misunderstood was heaven's way of refining the oil you carry. You were not being punished, you were being purified. There were rooms you were never meant to enter because their atmosphere couldn't contain what was within you. Some relationships broke because God was protecting your purpose, not punishing your heart. You were marked before you were born. Heaven etched your name into divine memory, and the enemy has known it since the day you took your first breath. That is why the battles you face are not normal. You have faced storms that others would not survive. You have carried weights that others would collapse under. Yet here you are still standing, still believing, still chosen. There is a reason you could never fit in. Every attempt to conform felt wrong because your spirit refused to shrink into something smaller than destiny. You were designed to walk differently, talk differently, and move differently. That difference made you a target. But it also makes you a vessel. The world resists what heaven anoints. The loneliness you felt was not abandonment, it was consecration. God isolated you to preserve you. While others chased platforms, you were being built in private. While others sought applause, you were learning obedience. What you called delay was actually divine development. It was proclaimed in the second letter to Timothy, chapter 1, verse 9. He has saved us and called us to a holy life, not because of anything we have done, but because of his own purpose and grace. Your calling is not based on merit, it is rooted in mercy. You were chosen not because you were perfect, but because you were willing. Heaven does not need perfection, it needs surrender. And every time you said, "Yes, Lord," even through tears, that yes became a weapon forged in the fire. The mark of heaven is invisible to the naked eye, but it is recognized in the spirit realm. That is why the attacks felt personal, because they were. The enemy doesn't waste ammunition on those without potential. You've been a threat since birth. Even when you didn't understand why life hit you so hard, the pressure was confirmation of your calling. You may not see it yet, but everything you've endured has been training. Every betrayal sharpened your discernment. Every heartbreak deepened your compassion. Every failure built your resilience. Heaven does not waste pain. It recycles it into power. The mark you carry attracts both warfare and favor. You will notice that the very thing people criticized about you is what God will use to elevate you. The qualities that made you stand out will become the qualities that open doors others can't enter. When God marks someone, He ensures their journey cannot be duplicated. You are not replaceable. You are appointed. There will be moments when you wonder why the road is so narrow. But understand this: great callings require great consecration. The chosen cannot walk casually when heaven has invested eternity inside them. You are being called to a higher standard because your life will influence others in ways you can't yet see. In the quiet moments, when doubt whispers that you are forgotten, remember, chosen ones are often hidden until the appointed time. Seeds are buried before they bloom. You are not buried in defeat. You are planted for manifestation. The soil that covers you is not your grave. It is your preparation ground. Your difference is divine. Heaven intentionally made you stand out so the world could recognize the hand of God upon you. Stop apologizing for your anointing. Stop shrinking your light to make others comfortable. You were never designed to blend into mediocrity. You were born to disrupt darkness with the light you carry. You are marked by heaven unmistakably, undeniably, irrevocably. And soon, those who once overlooked you will be drawn by the radiance of what God has placed upon you. This is the season when the hidden will be revealed, when the last will become first, when the marked will rise. There is no mistake in your story. Every detour was destiny disguised. Every delay was a setup for divine display. What others called strange, heaven calls chosen. The hand of God has been heavy upon you, shaping you, shielding you, sanctifying you. And when the unveiling comes, it will be clear you were never forgotten, only being prepared. You are walking proof that divine purpose cannot be erased. What tried to break you only revealed the strength heaven placed within you before time began. Soon, every hidden season will make sense. The pattern of pain will unfold into a masterpiece of glory only heaven could design. Keep walking in silence. Chosen one, the same God who marked you in secret is about to display you in light for His glory alone. The hidden battle, that is what has been raging behind the curtain of your ordinary days. You thought it was bad luck, misfortune, or coincidence, but no, it was war. Every sleepless night, every unexpected attack, every sudden wave of despair was proof that darkness recognized your potential before you did. The unseen realm has watched you rise when others would have fallen. Your opposition was not random. The enemy studied your patterns, your vulnerabilities, your moments of weakness, hoping you'd surrender the promise before you saw its fulfillment. But you didn't. Even when you stumbled, you got back up. Even when your prayers felt unanswered, you whispered one more anyway. That persistence frightened hell. There are two realms at war over your obedience: the realm of light that sees your destiny, and the realm of darkness that fears it. You have been walking through battles invisible to human eyes, but heaven has not been silent. Every tear you've cried was collected, every whisper heard. You have never fought alone. The Word of God declares in the book of Ephesians, chapter 6, verse 12, "For our struggle is not against flesh and blood, but against the rulers, against the authorities, against the powers of this dark world, and against the spiritual forces of evil in the heavenly realms." This explains why the attacks felt so personal. It wasn't about people, it was about principalities. You weren't fighting friends or family. You were resisting the invisible systems that wanted to silence your faith. The tension in your life has been spiritual, not circumstantial. Every moment you refused to give up became a declaration that heaven still had your loyalty. You didn't even know it, but while you cried, angels were standing guard. While you worshipped through pain, the atmosphere shifted. The enemy's greatest weapon, fear, lost its grip on you because your endurance proved what side you belong to. Understand this: spiritual warfare intensifies before revelation arrives. The night grows darkest before dawn because the adversary senses the shift that's coming. That's why, lately, the pressure has been unbearable. But that pressure is your confirmation. The same enemy that tried to destroy you now trembles at the thought of your awakening. The moment you choose faith over fear, your entire spiritual landscape changes. Heaven's armies move in formation, and darkness begins to retreat. You are not merely enduring, you are advancing. You are walking proof that resilience is worship. And every time you stand firm, you declare victory without saying a word. Every storm that came against you was secretly strengthening your spiritual muscles. You have learned to fight not with anger, but with prayer, not with anxiety, but with praise. You are no longer reactive, you are discerning. You've discovered that silence can be a sword when wielded in faith. There were nights when you felt abandoned, yet your survival became your loudest testimony. Every breath you take defies the enemy's plan. That is why you are still here, because purpose overpowered pain. And now, heaven calls you to recognize that the war you fought was training for the crown you will wear. Do not be ashamed of your scars. They are evidence of divine preservation. What wounded you could not kill you, because the hand of God was upon you. You carry the proof that light wins, that love heals, that grace restores. Every bruise tells the story of a battle already won. So, when you sense the darkness press in again, remember what happened last time you survived. You came out stronger, wiser, and sharper. You carry within you the strategy for victory. You know now that not every battle requires a sword. Some require stillness. Others require surrender. Either way, you are never unarmed. Now, chosen one, as a prophetic declaration, write these words below: light wins again. Type it not as a comment, but as a decree. When you write it, you are aligning your spirit with truth that no matter how dark it gets, light will always prevail. You are echoing heaven's verdict. Victory has already been secured. The words may seem simple, but they carry power. Heaven records them. Hell fears them. So let that declaration rise. Light wins again, because the light within you cannot be extinguished. Every battle you face from this day forward will only remind darkness that it has already lost. The hidden battle is no longer hidden. And now that you know what's truly happening, you walk in authority. Every step you take becomes a declaration that light has already triumphed. When you comment, light wins again, you are testifying publicly that no darkness, lie, or wound will overpower the presence of God within you. These words are not empty. They are a spiritual roar that shakes every shadow, trying to silence your divine identity. Each time you declare, light wins again. You align yourself with heaven's reality instead of your circumstances. You affirm that the same light that resurrected you before will do it again. It's not just a phrase, it's a prophecy. Type it, believe it, and watch the darkness retreat. When silence felt like abandonment, you wondered if heaven had forgotten your name. You prayed, and nothing moved. You waited, and nothing changed. The nights grew long, the tears unending, and the questions louder than your faith. You told yourself that maybe God had moved on to someone more deserving, more faithful, more qualified. But you were wrong. Silence was not abandonment, it was strategy. Heaven often works in stillness because stillness strengthens sight. When the noise of constant answers fades, the sound of trust begins to form. God was never ignoring you. He was teaching you to recognize His voice beyond blessings. There are seasons when heaven hides not to punish you, but to purify your perception. You were in a divine classroom, and silence was your teacher. The quiet was sculpting patience. The waiting was training discernment. The absence you felt was creating a deeper hunger for the presence that never truly left. You did not know it, but you were being positioned for something bigger than you had the faith to imagine. The Spirit spoke through the prophet Jeremiah. Chapter 29, verse 11, "For I know the plans I have for you, declares the Lord. Plans to prosper you and not to harm you. Plans to give you hope and a future." That was the truth that remained even when your emotions didn't feel it. The plan never disappeared, it was simply developing underground. Seeds grow in silence. And while you thought nothing was happening, heaven was orchestrating connections, alignments, and divine interventions that your eyes could not yet see. There were times you begged for a sign, any sign, that God was still near. But the answer was already inside the silence itself. For it takes faith to worship when there is no music, to trust when there is no evidence, to stand when nothing is moving. In that kind of faith, you become unstoppable. Silence does not mean the absence of movement. It means the perfection of timing. God will never rush a miracle that is still forming. What looks delayed is actually being developed with precision. Every unanswered prayer, every closed door, every pause was part of a greater choreography designed for your protection. Remember the moments you thought you lost everything. Those were the moments heaven was removing distractions. The relationships that walked away were never meant to carry your next level. The job that ended was making room for divine provision. You thought you were being emptied, but heaven was clearing space for abundance. Sometimes God hides so you can find Him in a deeper way. He withdraws from the surface to invite you into the secret place. You began to learn that prayer is not always about words, it's about presence. You discovered that even in silence, He was speaking through peace, through stillness, through strength that made no sense. You didn't recognize it at first, but something began to shift inside you. You stopped chasing immediate answers and started seeking eternal truth. You started realizing that unanswered prayers can be the greatest mercy, that God's not yet is often more loving than a premature yes. You began to trust His character even when you couldn't trace His hand. And that is the moment you crossed from religion into relationship. You no longer needed constant reassurance because you began to know that you are loved, chosen, and held, even in the quiet. You stopped demanding explanations and started resting in promises. That is what silence was meant to teach you. Looking back now, you can see it, the thread of grace weaving through every empty season. You were never forsaken, you were being fortified. You were never forgotten, you were being formed. The silence you resented became the sanctuary that shaped your endurance. So, if you find yourself in another season of stillness, remember what it truly is, an incubation period for revelation. Heaven does not forget what it plants. The same God who seemed silent was the one who sustained your breath, kept your heart beating, and whispered peace into your chaos. Now, as the curtain of silence lifts, you begin to see the pattern. Every unanswered moment was a setup for this unveiling. The quiet ground has begun to tremble, not in destruction, but in birth. Something holy is breaking through, and it carries your name upon it. When silence felt like abandonment, you were actually standing in the sacred space where miracles begin to grow. Heaven was closer than you thought. And now, the proof is about to unfold before your eyes. What once felt like heaven's distance was actually divine proximity. God was not far, he was surrounding you in ways your emotions couldn't perceive. The silence trained your heart to sense him beyond words, to trust him beyond logic, and to love him without evidence. Now you understand, silence was the seedbed of revelation. You were not forgotten. You were being prepared to carry a voice that echoes with authority. When God finally speaks, those who doubted will realize he was never absent. He was building something eternal within you all along. Heaven's scroll has been unsealed. The words that were written about your life before you were even born are now being released. The sound of divine timing echoes through the corridors of eternity, and your name is being spoken in the courts of heaven. What was delayed is no longer denied. What was held back is being handed over. There are moments in time when heaven opens a window and destiny pours out like rain, and this chosen one is one of those moments. The shift is not coming, it is happening now. The angels that were once waiting for the command have received their orders. The blessings that were once suspended have been authorized for release. Every season of waiting has been leading to this unveiling. The prayers that seemed to float into the void have found their place before the throne. Heaven is not silent anymore. The scroll has been unrolled, and your miracle has been written in ink that cannot fade. According to what is revealed in the book of Revelation, chapter 3, verse 8, I have placed before you an open door that no one can shut. This is that door, the one you've been waiting for. Knocking on, praying over it stands open before you. And as you step through it, you realize that the blessings you thought were far away were never out of reach. They were simply waiting for the appointed hour. You might not feel ready, but heaven says you are. The same hands that carried you through the storm now hand you the keys to your new beginning. The instructions that once felt confusing now make sense. Everything you lost is making its way back, multiplied. But listen closely, this moment is sacred. It is not just about receiving, it's about responding. When heaven moves, we are invited to move with it. This is not a transaction, it's participation in a divine flow. The same way a river nourishes the land it touches, generosity keeps the stream of blessing alive and moving. Imagine your heart as a vessel in that river. When you give, whether it's your prayers, your time, or your support, you're not losing anything. You're pouring water back into the source that has sustained you. You're saying, God, I trust the flow. And when you trust the flow, it always returns, multiplied. Every message, every word that touches your heart, exists because someone before you decided to pour into that same stream. And now you have that same opportunity to keep the river flowing for others who need a reminder that heaven still speaks. If this word has stirred something within you, if it has reignited hope or brought peace to your spirit, consider gently sowing into this stream of light. Your heart knows how. Maybe you choose to share this message like a seed on the wind. Subscribe to stay within its current, or even donate a drop back into the river that refreshed you. Your giving is not a demand, it is a sunrise, soft, voluntary, beautiful, like dawn breaking over still waters. It announces gratitude, not obligation. You are helping this light reach another shore, to touch another soul still waiting for morning, whether through a simple share, a quiet like, or a heartfelt donation. You are helping this message travel farther than voices can carry. Each gesture is a lantern you release into the night, glowing with hope for someone you may never meet. And if you choose to subscribe, see it not as following a page, but as joining a circle of light souls connected by the same divine spark, echoing heaven's heartbeat together. Heaven sees every gesture, every act of kindness, every unseen gift. When you give, it is as though you whisper back to heaven, "Thank you for not giving up on me." And in that whisper, heaven smiles. Because you have understood the heart of divine exchange. It's never about money. It's about meaning. This space, this message, exists to remind you that miracles are still happening, that hope is still alive, and that you are still chosen. When you help it continue, you are becoming a messenger yourself. You are part of the same voice that once found you when you needed it most. So, as you breathe in this truth, remember the scroll has been opened. The door stands before you, and the blessing is already yours. Whether you choose to simply receive or to give back, do it from a heart that knows everything. Good begins when we move in love. Heaven has unlocked your blessing, and all that's left is your yes. Each act of kindness, no matter how small, becomes a ripple touching shores you will never see. That is how heaven multiplies what begins in love quietly, invisibly, yet powerfully. The miracle continues because hearts like yours keep it alive. So when you feel that gentle nudge to give, share, or simply pray, follow it. Those are heaven's whispers inviting you into the rhythm of divine generosity. Every response, every yes, keeps the river of blessing flowing endlessly forward. The turning of the clock has come. The hour that once stood still now begins to move again, and it moves in your favor. Heaven's timepiece has struck a new moment in your life, a divine hour where the unseen becomes visible, where what was reversed is restored, and where destiny catches up with your faith. There are moments in human history when the rhythm of heaven and the rhythm of earth align perfectly. That is happening to you right now. What was locked behind time's curtain is being released into your present. The things you thought were too late are right on schedule. For years you have watched others move forward while you stood still. You questioned if maybe you missed your turn, if the door you were praying for had closed forever. But God was never behind schedule. He was synchronizing everything with divine accuracy. Heaven does not run on human calendars. It moves by purpose. The voice of God thundered in the book of Ecclesiastes, chapter 3, verse 1, "To everything there is a season, and a time to every purpose under the heaven. This is your appointed time." Every delay you endured has now transformed into divine precision. What seemed lost was only waiting for the right atmosphere to flourish. You were not being punished, you were being protected from premature exposure. Think of a clock whose hands were frozen at midnight. You thought time stopped. But heaven was winding the mechanism of your destiny behind the scenes. And now, the gears begin to move. Every tick is a sign. Every second is sacred. Every beat declares, "Now." You will notice how suddenly things start to align. Conversations that once led nowhere now open new doors. Ideas that seemed impossible begin to breathe. Where confusion clouded your way, clarity starts to shine. It's not coincidence, it's synchronization. Heaven has turned the clock, and everything begins to move with divine rhythm again. Your life is entering a kairos moment, a God-ordained season where acceleration replaces stagnation. The waiting is over, and the doors that were once shut swing wide. You are walking into the harvest of every seed you planted in faith. Do not rush, but do not hesitate either. Move with grace, step by step, as the Spirit leads. You are not too late, you are right on time. The same God who paused the clock has pressed play again, and the melody of your calling begins to sound louder. You will soon realize that what you called delay was actually choreography. Every heartbreak, every closed door, every detour was timed perfectly to bring you to this exact moment. Heaven's timing is never early, never late. It is perfect. Look around, even nature obeys timing. The sun rises when it must. The tide moves when commanded. So too, your life unfolds in divine sequence. The turning of your clock is proof that you have entered a new dimension of grace. Now, as the seconds of heaven align with the minutes of your faith, your entire story begins to make sense. You will not chase time anymore. Time will begin to serve you. The promises you thought expired are alive again, because heaven's calendar never forgets what God decrees. You have stepped into restoration. Everything you thought had run out: strength, opportunities, love. Peace returns in greater measure. The turning of the clock means the turning of circumstances, the shifting of seasons, the resurrection of what seemed finished. And when heaven turns the clock, it doesn't just restore what was lost, it redeems what was wasted. Years of pain become seeds for decades of purpose. The same time that once felt stolen will now overflow with divine repayment. Now, chosen one, if this word confirms what your spirit has been sensing, if something in you whispers yes, this is me, then seal this divine timing with a simple act of faith. Comment the number 444 below. This number is a prophetic symbol of divine order and angelic alignment. When you type it, you are declaring, "My time is synchronized with heaven." You are not just posting digits, you are making a spiritual decree that everything attached to your destiny now comes into balance. Type 444, not as a ritual, but as recognition that the hands of heaven's clock have turned toward you. Let it remind you that your life is unfolding exactly as designed, no delay, no accident, no missed moment. The clock is turning. The seconds are sacred. The future is waiting. And heaven has whispered, "It's your time now." When you comment 444, you're not just writing a number, you're aligning your faith with divine structure. It's heaven's way of saying, everything is falling into perfect rhythm. Your act of agreement becomes the sound that sets your atmosphere into supernatural order and calm precision. Each 444 typed is like the chime of heaven's clock echoing through your story, marking the end of delay and the start of alignment. You are declaring to the universe, I move with divine timing. And heaven responds, yes, you finally do. You survived the furnace. You walked through seasons of fire that scorched everything you thought you needed. Yet somehow, you came out alive. What should have broken you, refined you. The flames that once terrified you have now become proof of how fiercely heaven protects its chosen. The fire was never meant to destroy it, was meant to define. You were placed in it not to be consumed, but to be purified. God trusted you with the furnace because he knew the fire could not take what he himself had placed within you. That is the mystery of divine endurance. Only those who carry real gold are tested by real heat. There were moments you begged for the flames to stop. You cried for relief, pleaded for escape. But heaven stayed silent, not out of cruelty, but confidence. The silence was heaven's way of saying, you're stronger than you think. The fire did not come to kill you, it came to reveal you. The prophet Daniel wrote of such power in his book. Chapter 3, verse 27, the fire had not harmed their bodies, nor was a hair of their heads singed. Their robes were not scorched, and there was no smell of fire on them. This verse lives in you. You've been in the furnace, yet there is no smell of smoke on your life. You have endured betrayal, loss, heartbreak, and disappointment. And still, when others see you, they see light instead of ashes. You don't look like what you've been through, and that is divine evidence. You thought the fire was punishment, but it was promotion. The furnace exposed what could not stay attached to you: false friendships, weak faith, temporary comforts. Everything that burned away was never meant to go where God is taking you. The truth is, you were being forged. Gold is refined by fire, and warriors are trained in battle. The pressure, the heat, the pain, they all work together to strengthen what was unshakable in you. The fire didn't reduce you, it revealed the real you. Even now, as you look back, you begin to see that the furnace was never a place of death, it was a womb. It birthed endurance, resilience, and faith that cannot be imitated. You walked in crying, but you walked out carrying glory. Those who watched you suffer assumed it was the end, but they did not realize that chosen ones do not burn, they shine. You emerged with clarity, wisdom, and a deeper understanding of who you are. The very environment that tried to break you became the stage for your unveiling. There is a strange beauty in suffering. When pain refines you, gratitude deepens. You begin to thank God, not just for open doors, but for closed ones too. You start to recognize that survival itself is a miracle. Every scar becomes a story of grace. Some fires were emotional, others spiritual. You lost people you thought were permanent. You faced nights where your faith was a whisper, yet the more the heat increased, the more you discovered that grace burns brighter than pain. You were surrounded by flames, but you were held by a presence stronger than the fire. Now, you stand as living proof that not all destruction destroys. Some destruction delivers. The old version of you couldn't carry the weight of the calling you now bear. The fire was not a punishment, it was the holy preparation for where you are destined to stand. And here is the deeper truth: those who survive the furnace carry a glow the world cannot counterfeit. It's the radiance of one who has seen loss and still chosen faith, who has faced despair and still chosen worship. That glow cannot be faked. It is the mark of the refined. Do not resent the flames that shaped you. They were the birthplace of your new strength. Every tear you cried in the fire became oil for the lamp that now burns within you. You shine brighter because of what you endured. Your survival is not just a story, it's a signal. It tells heaven you're ready for greater responsibility, and tells darkness you cannot be destroyed. You are a testimony in motion, a walking declaration that what God preserves, no fire can consume. The next time the heat rises, remember this truth: you've already proven that you can stand in the fire and come out untouched. The enemy has seen what happens when he tries to destroy you. It backfires. The furnace became your refinement, and your endurance became your crown. Now you carry authority, born in adversity. When others panic, you remain calm. When others fear, you remember. You've walked through flames before, and you know who walked beside you. You've learned that real faith doesn't fear the fire, it understands its purpose. So lift your head, chosen one. You survived not by accident, but by anointing. The same fire that once threatened you now bows before the power that lives in you. The scent of smoke no longer clings to your story. Only the fragrance of victory remains. The angelic deployment has begun. While you sit in the quiet of your ordinary moments, an unseen army moves at the command of heaven. The atmosphere around you is not still, it is alive with divine activity. Angels, messengers of light, are being released with precision to rearrange the very fabric of your circumstances. You have felt the weight of invisible warfare, the strange fatigue, the sudden obstacles, the unexplainable resistance. But what you couldn't see was that every moment you prayed, the balance in the unseen realm shifted. Heaven has been positioning forces on your behalf. And now the deployment is in motion. The Word of God records in the book of Psalms, chapter 91, verse 11, "For he will command his angels concerning you to guard you in all your ways." Those words are more than comfort, they are a command still echoing through time. Right now, as your heart beats, assignments are being distributed among celestial ranks. Some angels carry strength, others carry messages, and some bring closure to battles you no longer have the energy to fight. You may not hear their wings or see their light, but you have felt their presence in moments when danger missed you by inches, when peace arrived unexpectedly, when provision appeared at the last minute. Those were not coincidences, those were movements of divine strategy. Heaven's armies operate with perfect order. They do not move by emotion or request alone, they move by divine decree. And that decree has been released. The same angels who ministered to Elijah under the broom tree, who shut the lions' mouths for Daniel, who rolled away the stone at the tomb, now stand assigned to your story. When God decides that his chosen must advance, he never sends them alone. You are surrounded by an invisible escort, unseen yet unshakable. That's why some doors open without explanation, and certain enemies back away without confrontation. The hand of heaven is moving pieces into alignment, and angels are its instruments. Even now, they go before you to prepare paths you've never walked. They whisper to hearts, "You'll meet tomorrow." Softening what would have been hardened, they bring rest to your weary mind in the night, guarding your dreams from the echoes of fear. You are being carried by what you cannot see. Angels move in silence, but their effects are loud. When they enter, confusion clears. When they act, delays dissolve. They are heaven's confirmation that you are not forgotten in the chaos. They are the proof that prayer never returns empty. Sometimes their arrival is subtle, a peace that settles like dawn. Other times it is thunderous, a breakthrough that interrupts your routine. In both forms, the purpose is the same: to reveal that God has been working all along. Even when you felt alone, you have walked through seasons where you questioned whether your prayers had reached the sky. But heaven heard you the first time. The answer was not denial, it was deployment. Just as Daniel's prayer was met by angelic interference and delay, so too your answers have been fought for in realms unseen. This is why endurance was required. Every day you stood firm became authorization for angels to act. They respond to faith's persistence more than fear's noise. Your continued trust became the signal that heaven had full permission to intervene. Do not picture angels only as distant beings in white light. Think of them as divine engineers, arranging the infrastructure of your life, aligning opportunities, closing harmful doors, protecting your steps. Some clear the path before you, others stand guard behind. Their assignment to ensure you reach the place called promise. And though they work invisibly, you will know when they've been near. The impossible becomes effortless. The delayed becomes immediate. The chaotic becomes calm. What used to require your strength now unfolds with divine ease. That ease is evidence you are not fighting alone anymore. Even your atmosphere changes. Rooms feel lighter. Conversations flow smoother. Peace lingers longer. These are the footprints of heaven's army as they walk beside you. Their presence brings order because they move under the authority of the one who authored peace itself. You may not always sense the activity, but trust that it never ceases, day and night. They surround the chosen. They shield the weak, guide the faithful, and war against darkness that tries to creep too close. Every breath you take is guarded, every step considered. The deployment is not temporary, it is ongoing. Heaven's defense system does not expire when storms pass, it remains to establish peace after victory. Angels do not just fight battles, they build protection around blessings. So rest now. You have interceded long enough. The response has already been sent. The invisible has become active, and the help you prayed for is standing beside you. Unseen but unstoppable, the angelic deployment ensures that your next season will not be fought with the same exhaustion as the last. You are moving from striving to supernatural support, from battle fatigue to divine partnership. What once felt like loneliness was actually the silence before reinforcements arrived. Now, as you walk into new days, walk knowing that heaven's army marches with you. The victory is not in question, it is already in motion. Your obedience unlocks the gate. You have prayed, you have waited, you have endured, but the gate before you does not open to strength or status, it opens to surrender. The next move in your destiny depends not on what you can force, but on what you are willing to yield. Heaven values obedience more than sacrifice. It is not how loud you speak, but how softly you listen. Every instruction God whispered, every nudge you ignored or obeyed, was shaping the rhythm of your breakthrough. The keys to your next season were never hidden. They were waiting for your obedience to turn them. The ancient words recorded in the book of Deuteronomy, chapter 28, verse 2, declare, "All these blessings will come on you and accompany you if you obey the Lord your God." It has always been about alignment. The gates of heaven are voice-activated. They open to those who respond with obedience. Each time you follow divine direction, you walk through doors that effort alone could never unlock. You see, obedience is not always grand. Sometimes it's quiet. It's forgiving when you'd rather remember. It's staying when leaving seems easier. It's trusting when understanding hasn't arrived. Each act of obedience rewrites your future, positioning you exactly where grace flows. You may think your obedience goes unnoticed, but heaven keeps perfect records. The moments you chose to walk in faith instead of fear are memorialized in eternity. They echo as testimonies of trust, each one a seed that will sprout into divine harvest. Obedience feels costly because it requires surrendering control. Yet the miracle always begins the moment control ends. It is when your hands open that God's hand moves. Every yes you have whispered in private has shaken something powerful in the unseen realm. There were seasons when you obeyed without reward, when it seemed your sacrifices disappeared into the void. But every act was building the gate's foundation. Every small step of faith was another hinge forming. And now, as heaven looks upon you, the structure is complete. The gate stands ready. The locks of delay are falling away. The hinges of resistance are loosening. What once stood closed before you begins to move, not because of force, but because of faith. Not because you demanded, but because you trusted. The greatest miracle you will ever witness is not in what you receive, but in how you respond. God never needed your perfection. He desired your willingness. He is not measuring how far you've walked. He's watching how deeply you obey. You are about to witness what happens when obedience meets divine timing. The things you prayed for will find you without struggle. Opportunities will chase you instead of you chasing them. The same gates that once resisted you will open automatically because your obedience carries the master key. Now listen carefully. This next step will require discernment, not fear. Heaven is inviting you into deeper trust, not tighter control. The instruction may come in whispers. Forgive them, bless them, speak when silent, or stay when it hurts. Each directive, though small, shifts something monumental in your spiritual atmosphere. Remember, obedience always precedes overflow. The gates of abundance open not to pride, but to posture, your humility, your listening heart, your willingness to follow when it's inconvenient. All of it writes your name upon the threshold of divine favor. You stand now at the intersection of obedience and manifestation. The gate before you is not guarded by angels with swords. It's waiting for your surrender. The moment you say yes, it swings open, and everything waiting on the other side rushes to greet you. So, let this be your declaration today. Not hesitation, not fear, just surrender. You've tried pushing, now try yielding. You've tried planning, now try trusting. The gate responds to obedience like metal responds to flame. It cannot resist it. Now, chosen one, as a symbol of your faith, I invite you to comment these words below. I choose obedience. Type it with intention. It's more than words, it's alignment. When you write it, you are affirming to heaven, I'm ready to listen before I move. You are choosing trust over control, purpose over pride. This small act becomes a key that unlocks divine strategy over your life. Every miracle begins with a simple yes. Every gate opens for a willing heart. And when heaven hears your yes, it echoes through eternity like thunder, because obedience always unlocks what effort never could. When you comment, I choose obedience, you are not typing for appearance, you are making a covenant. Those words become a bridge between heaven's will and your next step. They tell God, I will listen, even when I don't understand. Obedience is the quiet sound that shakes the gates of resistance. Each time you write, I choose obedience, you are untying knots of delay that pride once tightened. You are proving that faith still lives louder than fear inside you. Let this declaration settle in your spirit. Obedience is not weakness, it is wisdom. Heaven rewards the ones who walk softly in trust. And as you affirm it, unseen gates begin to swing wide, crowned in the midst of chaos that is the paradox of the chosen. While others see disorder, you see destiny taking shape. The world around you may seem to crumble, but heaven crowns you right there. Not after the storm, not when the noise fades, but in the very middle of it, because anyone can shine in calm waters, but only the chosen glow through fire and thunder. You have walked through storms that tested your sanity, stood in moments that blurred your vision, and faced seasons where every voice seemed to question your worth. Yet here you are, still radiant, still standing, still carrying the weight of divine purpose with quiet strength. The chaos didn't crown you, it revealed that the crown was already there. The apostle reminds us in his letter to the Corinthians, first book, chapter 9, verse 25, they do it to obtain a corruptible crown, but we an incorruptible one. That crown is not of gold or silver, it's made of endurance, faith, and grace. It's the glow that cannot be purchased, the peace that cannot be imitated, the authority that comes only from surviving what others did not. Every tear you shed polished that crown. Every act of obedience secured it in place. Heaven does not crown comfort, it crowns consistency. You have proven that even when everything collapses, your faith remains. And now, as light pierces through the noise, your radiance becomes undeniable. You wear the evidence of divine preservation, the fragrance of perseverance, and the glow of glory. But hear this, the crown was never meant to be hidden. It carries light meant to guide others through their chaos. That is why your voice matters. Your story matters. Your light matters. Someone right now is drowning in the same darkness you once survived, and your testimony is their map home. That is where your small act of kindness can change everything. When you like, when you share, when you subscribe, you are not performing an action, you are passing the flame. Each click becomes a spark. Each share a lantern lighting the path for another weary soul. Imagine this message as a candle in a vast night. When you share it, you lift that candle higher, allowing its light to reach someone stumbling in silence. It costs nothing but compassion, yet it can change everything for the one who finds it. And if your heart ever feels stirred to support this mission in a deeper way, let that generosity flow freely. Think of it not as giving away, but as planting light. Every contribution, no matter how small, is like a seed of sunrise placed in the soil of faith. One day, someone will stand in that light and whisper, "I'm still here because someone cared enough to give." Your donation is never demanded, it's an invitation to co-create hope. It is not currency, it's compassion made tangible. You are not funding words, you are fueling awakening. You are allowing light to travel farther than it could alone. So, if you feel led, give as rivers, give quietly, gently, continuously. Let your support flow not out of pressure, but out of love. Because love was what started this journey in the first place. The world doesn't need more noise, it needs more nourishment. And every act of generosity is another drop of living water. And if all you can offer is a moment, a prayer, a share, know that it matters just as much. You are part of a divine ecosystem of grace, where every seed of kindness multiplies. This message isn't built on wealth, it's built on willingness. So, like, share, subscribe not as obligation, but as participation. You are stepping into the same rhythm heaven moves in giving. Growing, glowing. Each gesture is an echo that ripples beyond your screen, touching hearts you'll never meet, but heaven will. Every kingdom needs builders, not beggars. You are a builder of light. When you choose to act, whether by giving, sharing, or simply being present, you are shaping a sanctuary for others who crave the same peace you found here. Let your generosity, in whatever form it takes, be like fragrance. It doesn't force itself, it fills the room softly. That's how light spreads gently, beautifully, willingly. And know this, every like is a signal, every share a spark, every contribution a song that heaven hears. Together, we become an orchestra of hope, each person a note, each act a melody that rises above the chaos. The crown you wear isn't yours alone, it reflects a kingdom. As you stand crowned amid the storm, others will see the glow and remember that even in darkness, there is divine design. You were chosen to remind them that the crown doesn't fall, it shines. So if your spirit whispers to act, act in freedom. If it calls you to give, give in joy. If it moves you to share, share in light. Everything you do in love becomes eternal, because the world may roar, the storm may rage, but you, crowned in the midst of chaos, carry a light that will never go out. The Joseph anointing rests upon you. It is the grace to rise from the pit to the palace, from rejection to responsibility, from forgotten to favored. You have walked through seasons where betrayal felt like the final chapter, yet it was only the beginning of your unveiling. Every wound you've endured was training. Every injustice was sharpening your discernment. The same people who cast you aside unknowingly positioned you for divine promotion. That is the pattern of the chosen. The more you're pressed down, the higher heaven intends to raise you. The ancient story of Joseph is not a tale of survival alone, it's a revelation of transformation. He was sold, silenced, and misunderstood. Yet every detour was a stairway to destiny. You carry that same oil. The pits you've fallen into were not graves, they were gateways. As it was written in the book of Genesis, chapter 50, verse 20, "You intended to harm me, but God intended it for good to accomplish what is now being done, the saving of many lives." This verse is not distant history, it's a mirror of your journey. What others meant for harm has become the soil where purpose grew. What wounded you became what anointed you. Every injustice has become a part of your intercession. Every heartbreak, a seed of wisdom. There were seasons when you felt imprisoned by circumstances beyond your control. You served faithfully in small places while wondering if God still remembered the dream. But just like Joseph, the prison could not contain what heaven had placed within you. Destiny cannot be confined by walls, time, or human opinion. The Joseph anointing doesn't just lift you, it teaches you. You learn to interpret the dreams of others even when your own dreams remain unfulfilled. You learn to serve with integrity even when no one notices. You learn that obscurity is not punishment but preparation. It is in hidden places that humility forms. It is in disappointment that discernment deepens. You begin to understand that true elevation comes not through striving, but through stewardship. Joseph's greatness was not in the throne he sat upon, but in the purity of his heart while he waited for it. When you carry this anointing, betrayal can no longer break you, it builds you. People may throw stones, but heaven uses those stones as the foundation for your palace. Every false accusation becomes an introduction to the truth. Every closed door becomes a redirection to the one that truly matters. And when promotion comes, it arrives suddenly. Joseph woke up one morning a prisoner and went to bed a ruler. That's how quickly divine timing moves when character has matured. Heaven never rushes preparation because true crowns must fit refined heads. You have been through the refining fire. You have cried the hidden tears. You have learned to forgive the ones who forgot you. And now, heaven declares that your season of silent endurance is transitioning into public recognition. The same voices that mocked your vision will one day come seeking your wisdom. The same hands that betrayed you will reach for your blessing. But you will not retaliate, you will restore. For the Joseph anointing is not about revenge, it's about redemption. When God elevates you, it is never only for you. Your breakthrough carries provision for others. Your healing carries hope for the broken. Your success becomes a sanctuary for those who once suffered beside you. You are being raised not to rule over people, but to serve under purpose. This is why humility remains your armor. The higher Joseph rose, the deeper his gratitude grew. He never forgot the pit, nor the prison, nor the presence that never left him. You must do the same. Never let comfort erase compassion. The crown is not an escape from servanthood, it's an invitation to expand it. There will be moments when memories of pain resurface, but let them remind you, not define you. Let them keep your heart tender, your hands generous, your voice gentle. For the measure of your anointing will always be seen in the mercy you extend. And soon, you will look back and realize that every loss was a link in the chain that led you here. Every rejection redirected you. Every heartbreak humbled you. And every delay deepened you. You are stepping into your Joseph moment where past confusion meets present clarity, where the reason behind every hardship finally unfolds. Heaven never wastes pain. It transforms it into wisdom that others will one day draw from. Hold this truth close. The same God who turned Joseph's captivity into command is turning your sorrow into strategy. Your scars will not silence you, they will speak life into nations, into generations, into hearts that once thought hope was gone. The pit taught you humility. The prison taught you endurance. The palace will reveal your purpose. And through it all, heaven's fingerprint remains unmistakable on your story. You have not merely survived, you have been transformed. Every scar now gleams like prophecy. Every wound breathes wisdom. the dream lives, the crown fits, and destiny finally bows to your obedience. The prophetic reversal is here. Heaven is turning the tide in your favor. What once worked against you is now working for you. The very ground that rejected you will soon recognize you. Every loss is preparing to echo with restoration, and every delay is about to turn into divine acceleration. You are standing in a season where the unseen hand of God is rewriting outcomes. What was declared impossible is being overturned by divine authority. This is not poetic language, it is a spiritual transaction happening even as you read these words. Heaven is issuing reversal orders. Verdicts of defeat are being rescinded, and justice is being released. It was proclaimed in the book of Isaiah, chapter 61, verse 7, "Instead of your shame, you will receive a double portion, and instead of disgrace, you will rejoice in your inheritance." The enemy thought he buried you under the weight of failure, but he only planted you deeper into promise. The soil that held your tears now holds your testimony. Heaven's justice does not erase the past, it transforms it into something so radiant that even your pain begins to praise. Debt, spiritual, emotional, even financial, is being cancelled, not by human reasoning, but by divine decree. Every moment you thought was wasted is being repaid in multiplied form. God is not returning what you lost in equal measure, He is returning it with interest. This reversal is not simply about material restoration, it is about identity. The names you were called unworthy, forgotten, broken are being replaced with titles. Heaven has always known you by chosen, redeemed, crowned. The shift is not outside of you, it's happening through you. You have spent years watching others thrive while you held on to promises that seemed stillborn. But now the delay ends. What you thought died in waiting is breathing again. The promises that seemed frozen under the ice of disappointment are thawing beneath the warmth of divine mercy. Prophetic reversals do not arrive quietly. They come like sudden rain after drought. Doors reopen, relationships heal, debts dissolve, opportunities return with better timing and deeper purpose. You realize that God never said no, He said, "Not yet." And not yet has finally become now. Even the pain you endured is being reinterpreted. The very things you thought disqualified you are now your credentials. Your weakness becomes your wisdom. Your struggle becomes your strength. Heaven delights in using what seemed unusable, turning broken fragments into a mosaic of glory. When the reversal comes, it happens so suddenly that you almost can't comprehend it. You'll find yourself standing in answered prayers without realizing when they shifted. Conversations change tone. Circumstances realign. Hearts soften. It's as though heaven whispered a single word and everything obeyed. You are walking into recompense, divine repayment. Every tear has been counted. Every sleepless night recorded. Heaven is too precise to overlook suffering. The same God who saw Joseph in prison, Hannah in prayer, and Ruth in the fields sees you. And just as He turned their stories, He is turning yours. This is your turnaround moment. The waiting is over. What was against you now bends to serve your purpose. You will look back and see that not one season was wasted, not one prayer unheard, not one heartbreak unnoticed. Everything served its purpose to prepare you for overflow. Now, chosen one, to seal this divine reversal, I invite you to comment 888 below. This number represents new beginnings and resurrection. When you write 888, you're not performing superstition, you're declaring renewal. You are saying, I align with heaven's new order. My story turns now. It's a symbolic act, a whisper of faith that heaven recognizes. Each 888 becomes a sound in the spiritual realm, a declaration that the old cycle is broken and the new one begins. When you type it, imagine the courtroom of heaven shifting in your favor, the gavel of grace striking down every accusation. You are not begging for mercy, you are standing in covenant. Heaven has already decided the outcome, its restoration. Divine reversal is not coming, it's here. The tables are turning, the pages flipping, and your name is being written in bold ink across heaven's scroll of favor. You have waited long enough. You have wept long enough. The reversal is sealed. Type 888 and breathe this truth. What was lost will return brighter, better, and blessed. When you comment 888, you are not just agreeing, you are activating. Those 3 8s are heaven's mathematics of mercy, endings multiplied into new beginnings. It's your way of saying, I step into what is already mine. Every 888 becomes a prophetic echo through time, reminding both heaven and earth that your story has turned. You are declaring restoration, not as a dream, but as your present reality. Each digit is a door, opening into a future healed from what once hurt you. Let this declaration rise like a sunrise in your spirit. 888 is not coincidence, it's covenant. It marks the moment where your waiting ends and your becoming begins. The reversal is complete, and joy is your inheritance. The breaking of chains has begun. What once held you bound fear, guilt, shame, addiction. Doubt is losing its grip even now. You can almost feel it. Can't you? That quiet loosening in your soul, that unexplainable peace beginning to unfold within your chest. Heaven is not asking you to fight harder, it is asking you to surrender deeper. The victory has already been declared. There are chains that cling not to your hands, but to your mind, thoughts that replay your failures, voices that remind you of who you once were. These invisible chains are often stronger than iron, because they live in memory, in regret, in the echo of things you can't undo. Yet, even those chains are no match for grace. We find in the book of Acts, chapter 12, verse 7, suddenly an angel of the Lord appeared, and a light shone in the cell. He struck Peter on the side and woke him up. Quick, get up, he said, and the chains fell off Peter's wrists. That same light has entered your cell. It pierces through the thoughts that once imprisoned you. It calls your name in the darkness and says, get up. You see, freedom doesn't begin when the door opens. It begins when you decide to rise. Heaven can break the chains, but only you can walk out of the cell. For years you've believed that freedom meant escape. But in truth, freedom begins with revelation. It's when you finally understand that you are no longer who you were, no longer tied to what broke you, no longer living under the same condemnation that once ruled your nights. Grace did not just forgive you, it freed you. Some chains were generational, passed down through patterns of pain. You may have carried fears that were never yours, burdens you inherited without consent. But this is where the breaking begins. The cycle stops with you. The curse that claimed your family will not claim you. The story that repeated for decades ends in your lifetime. Heaven is rewriting the bloodline through your obedience. You might feel trembling as you let go. It's normal. The body remembers what the spirit is forgetting. But the shaking you feel is not weakness, it's release. When heaven breaks chains, there is always a sound. You hear it in your heart before you see it in your life. That sound is happening now. The breaking doesn't happen all at once. Sometimes the chains snap link by link. One day you forgive. Another day you stop blaming yourself. Another day you finally breathe without guilt. These moments are holy. They are the sound of freedom in progress. Heaven celebrates every small release because each one makes room for joy to enter. And while some chains fall quietly, others break with thunder. There will be days when you feel something shift suddenly, a weight lifted, a voice silenced, a habit shattered. Don't fear the noise of release. It's the sound of heaven celebrating your deliverance. Even your posture changes when you're free. You walk lighter, speak gentler, love deeper. You begin to see people through mercy instead of pain. Freedom does that. It purifies vision. It removes the dust of bitterness so you can finally see the beauty of your own story. Every area that once imprisoned you will become a place of ministry. The wounds that embarrassed you will become your authority. You will speak life into others, still sitting where you once wept. That is how heaven redeems suffering. It turns captives into deliverers. And here's the truth many forget. Freedom isn't just release from what was wrong, it's restoration of what was right. When chains fall, identity returns. You remember who you were before fear made you small. You rediscover the strength that trauma tried to bury. You become familiar again with peace. The chains that fall off your soul do not hit the ground quietly. In the spirit, they make a sound like metal striking marble, loud enough for heaven to hear and hell to fear. Each one is a declaration that grace has won again. There was a time when your voice trembled. Now it testifies. There was a time when your hands shook. Now they heal. There was a time when you saw yourself as a prisoner. Now you walk as a liberator. You have become the proof that no chain, no curse, no failure can outlast the love of God. So, take a deep breath. You don't owe the past another apology. The door is open. The chains are gone. The light is waiting. Step forward not as a survivor, but as a free soul finally walking in peace. And when you walk out of that cell, don't look back to check if the chains are still there. They are gone, melted by mercy, scattered by grace, erased from record. You owe them no farewell. Freedom has called your name, and you have answered. You are no longer bound, no longer bruised. The echo of chains has been replaced by the rhythm of freedom. Walk forward. Radiant and whole heaven recognizes you by your liberated sound. The mantle of multiplication now rests upon you. What once felt small, unseen, or insignificant is about to expand beyond what your imagination can contain. Heaven is not simply blessing you, it is multiplying you. Every act of faith, every seed of kindness, every whisper of prayer has been planted in divine soil. And now the harvest begins to rise. This is not the season of addition, it is the season of overflow. When heaven multiplies, it does not do so in numbers alone, it multiplies in influence, in peace, in purpose. You are stepping into the dimension where the little you have becomes more than enough because it carries the breath of the Almighty. as Jesus himself declared in the Gospel of Luke, chapter 6, verse 38, "Give, and it will be given to you. A good measure, pressed down, shaken together, and running over, will be poured into your lap." Those words are not just a promise, they are a spiritual law. Multiplication flows through the same rhythm as generosity. When you pour out what you have, heaven pours back what you cannot measure. The cup that once looked half empty becomes a fountain that never runs dry. There were seasons when you looked at what you held and thought it was too little to matter. But remember, 5 loaves fed thousands when placed in divine hands. It was never about the quantity. It was about surrender. What you called not enough, heaven calls the beginning of abundance. Multiplication always begins in places of lack. When God multiplies, He chooses what seems small to prove that increase is never about resources, but about relationship. He uses scarcity as a canvas to display His endless supply. You may not even realize it yet, but heaven has been enlarging your capacity in silence. The struggles that stretched you, the seasons that emptied you, the prayers that forced you to grow, all of them were preparing you to hold more. You cannot receive overflow with a vessel still shaped for survival. The stretching was not punishment, it was preparation. Like clay on the potter's wheel, you were pressed and reshaped until you could hold the weight of what's coming. What felt like breaking was really expansion. Heaven was increasing your capacity to contain blessing. Multiplication happens through alignment, not ambition. It comes when your heart beats in rhythm with heaven's generosity. You become a conduit, not a collector. You realize that abundance is never about accumulation, it's about distribution. The more you release, the more flows through you. You will notice that peace begins to multiply first. The same things that used to unsettle you will no longer shake you. That inner stillness will draw opportunities toward you effortlessly. Doors will open because your spirit finally understands that abundance is your birthright, not a reward. Then favor will begin to ripple outward. The same people who once ignored you will begin to notice. Projects that once stalled will suddenly progress. Ideas you once doubted will attract provision. You won't need to chase, you'll magnetize what belongs to you. Multiplication moves through grace, not grind. Even your words will carry weight. What you speak will begin to manifest faster because your atmosphere is fertile. Heaven responds to voices that have been purified through surrender. You will speak light, and life will form. You will declare peace, and storms will obey. This is the mystery of multiplication. You become both the seed and the soil. What God plants in you, He also grows through you. Your influence will reach further than your presence. Your voice will echo into places your feet may never step. Do not be surprised when what once felt ordinary becomes extraordinary overnight. That's how heaven works. Quiet preparation, sudden release. The world will see your sudden success, but heaven knows it took years of faith to make this moment possible. And remember, multiplication is never selfish. The blessing that overflows from your life is meant to nourish others. Your testimony will feed those still hungry for hope. Your wisdom will water the weary. Your abundance will clothe the broken and light the path for those still walking in darkness. In this new season, you are called to steward the overflow with open hands. Don't try to contain it, channel it. Don't fear its size, flow with it. Heaven trusts you now because you learned to trust even when you had little. You proved faithful in scarcity. And now, faithfulness is being rewarded with fullness. You are standing at the edge of abundance. The sound you hear is the rustling of multiplied blessings moving in your direction. Every prayer you thought was lost in the wind has become a seed carried by divine currents, ready to bloom in perfect time. The mantle of multiplication does not fall by accident. It rests on those who endured the seasons of emptiness without losing gratitude. You wore patience when others wore pride. You kept sowing when others stopped believing. That consistency has called forth heaven's increase. Soon, you will look around and realize that everything has grown: your influence, your peace, your provision, your joy. The same fields that once looked barren will overflow with fruit. You will not only taste abundance, you will become it. The final testing always comes before the unveiling. The air grows heavy, the silence deepens, and everything in you begins to wonder if the promise will ever arrive. That is the moment right before breakthrough, when heaven measures not your perfection, but your persistence. You have been through battles that left invisible scars. You have endured seasons where you gave everything and received nothing in return. And still, you kept walking. That is why you are still standing. The final testing was never meant to expose your weakness. It was meant to reveal your endurance. It was written in the book of James, chapter 1, verse 12. Blessed is the one who perseveres under trial, because, having stood the test, that person will receive the crown of life that the Lord has promised to those who love him. You are that person. Every trial you've endured has been heaven's classroom. Every tear became a lesson in faith. You've learned to walk without needing constant proof, to love even when unloved, to trust when logic fell silent. And because of that, the crown of endurance now rests upon your spirit. The final test is never about your surroundings, it is about your response. It is how you behave when no one claps for you, how you speak when no one listens, how you believe when no one understands. These are the measures of faith that heaven uses to weigh destiny. And when you pass that test, something shifts forever. The same ground that held you captive begins to recognize your authority. The same circumstances that resisted you now yield to your voice. You discover that your greatest power was never in control, it was in surrender. There is a quiet beauty in finishing well. It's not loud. It's not glamorous, it's steady, like the final glow of sunset after a long day. It doesn't demand attention, it simply fills the sky with proof that light always wins. That is where you stand now, bathed in the light of endurance. You may not realize it, but your journey has already begun to inspire others. The way you kept believing when faith felt like a whisper has become a lantern for those still wandering in darkness. You are a living message, written in resilience and sealed with grace. Now, as this word touches your heart, pause for a moment. Let gratitude rise like incense within you. Breathe. Remember where you came from, the roads you crossed, the fires you survived. You are no longer who you were. Heaven has rewritten your identity through your endurance. And as you listen, if this message resonates deeply, if it feels like a mirror to your spirit, allow that feeling to become a gesture. When you like, when you share, when you comment, you are not performing, you are responding. Think of it this way: your engagement is the echo of your gratitude. A like becomes a whisper that says, "This touched me." A share becomes a ripple that says, "May this reach another heart." A comment becomes your footprint in the sand of grace. a visible amen that heaven recognizes. When you subscribe, it's not about following, it's about belonging. Each subscription is a small candle lit among countless others, forming a constellation of faith where each light says, "I still believe." And if generosity stirs in your heart, let it flow freely. Think of giving not as losing, but as releasing a dove into the wind. You never know where it will land, but it will carry peace to someone who needs it most. Your donation becomes that dove, silent, graceful, filled with love. Heaven measures not the size of your gift, but the sincerity of your heart. The smallest offering, given in love, carries the fragrance of eternity. You are not funding words, you are feeding awakening. You are helping light reach another who might have given up without it. Do it not because you must, but because you may. Giving, sharing, commenting, subscribing, these are acts of worship when done in love. They are how light travels, how hope multiplies, how heaven moves through human hearts. If all you do is listen and carry peace into your day, that too is enough. You are the continuation of the message, the living proof that heaven's voice still speaks through those who endure. So, breathe again. The final testing has ended. You have endured. And now, the unveiling begins. You are stepping into the chapter where everything finally aligns, where purpose greets peace, and where your spirit rests, knowing you did not give up. And if gratitude stirs, let it move in whatever way your soul desires to share, to shine, to give. Whatever form it takes, let it be free. For freedom is heaven's purest language. You have passed the test. You are not just chosen, you are proven. You stand now at the threshold of new glory, carrying the quiet strength of one who endured. Let the world see not your struggle, but your shine, proof that faith, once tested, becomes light unquenchable. You are radiant. The outpouring has begun. It starts softly, almost imperceptibly, a warmth rising within, a sudden calm that hushes every storm inside you. You do not chase it, you simply receive it. Heaven does not shout when it pours, it whispers through wind, through tears, through the steady rhythm of your heartbeat. For so long, you prayed for evidence. You wanted to see the answer with your eyes, to touch the miracle with your hands. But this time, the outpouring does not come to impress your senses, it comes to transform your spirit. What is descending now is not a drop of blessing, but a river of renewal. The ancient prophet Joel recorded such moments. In chapter 2, verse 28, and afterward, I will pour out my spirit on all people. Your sons and daughters will prophesy. Your old men will dream dreams. Your young men will see visions. That promise was not confined to history. It flows through this very moment. The Spirit is being poured again, not from the clouds above, but from the deep well within you. The divine is not visiting, it is inhabiting. You are the vessel being filled, the cup running over. This outpouring is not loud or chaotic. It is tender. It does not demand attention, it restores awareness. It fills the cracks that pain once carved, seeps into the hollow places that loss once emptied. It moves through you like light through stained glass, illuminating every color you tried to hide. You may not realize it yet, but the heaviness lifting from your shoulders is not exhaustion easing, it is an exchange. Heaven is taking your burdens and replacing them with breath. Every sigh becomes a prayer answered in silence. Every heartbeat becomes worship without words. This is the mystery of divine rain. It falls even on the hardened ground. Your faith, dry and fractured, begins to soften under its touch. You thought you had nothing left to give. Yet here you are, feeling something holy bloom where you once felt barren. That is grace, miracle in motion. There will be moments in this season when tears come without warning. Don't hold them back. They are not sorrow, they are cleansing. Heaven washes hearts the way rain cleanses earth quietly, thoroughly, beautifully. Let it fall. Let it soak into the deepest parts of you. The outpouring also brings remembrance. It stirs memories of prayers you forgot you prayed, dreams you buried under disappointment. Suddenly, old visions awaken with fresh life. What you thought was gone was only sleeping, waiting for this rain to touch it. As it pours, peace begins to bloom. Not the peace of comfort, but the peace of clarity, the kind that makes you stop striving and start trusting, the kind that reminds you that you don't have to control what God has already completed. This rain does not choose by worthiness. It falls because of mercy. It visits both the faithful and the fragile. Heaven delights in proving that love does not discriminate. It simply flows wherever there is thirst. And you, chosen one, have been thirsty for far too long. Do you feel it, that gentle weight pressing against your soul? That's not heaviness, it's presence. The Spirit rests where it is welcomed. You are being drenched in what prayers cannot buy and performance cannot earn. You are standing under a downpour of unconditional grace. Everything around you begins to respond to it. People feel lighter in your presence. Rooms feel warmer when you enter. That's because the rain that touched you now flows through you. You have become a carrier of the outpouring, a walking well of refreshment for the weary. The blessings arriving now are not random, they are responses. Every seed you planted in pain is being watered. Every sacrifice you made unseen is sprouting into fruit. The same rain that restores you will soon overflow through you, touching the lives of those around you. And though the outpouring feels peaceful, it carries power. Mountains of resistance begin to erode. Walls of doubt crumble. Fear loses its vocabulary. You begin to walk with quiet authority, not to dominate, but to deliver. The atmosphere around you changes because the Spirit within you has been stirred. Heaven has declared a shift in your atmosphere. Where there was drought, there is saturation. Where there was silence, there is song. The outpouring does not end with you, it expands through you. You have become the living continuation of a promise older than time. And as this rain falls, know that it will not cease until every dry place in your life has blossomed. The flowers of faith will bloom again. The fragrance of peace will linger long after the storm passes. You are not waiting for rain anymore. You are walking in it. Every step you take leaves footprints soaked in grace. Every breath you exhale carries renewal into the world. The outpouring has begun, and it will not end until you overflow. Let this rain keep falling within you, soft, sacred, unending. Every drop carries memory, mercy, and meaning. You are the field heaven chose to bloom again, proof that even after drought, life still sings. The glory manifested, it begins quietly, like dawn slipping over a sleeping landscape. There is no trumpet, no announcement, just light spilling gently into places that once knew only shadow. You sense it before you see it, the calm assurance that the long night has ended. What you prayed for is no longer distant, it has arrived and settled around you like golden air. Glory is not thunder, it is transformation. It does not come to decorate your life, it comes to define it. You are not standing in front of what God is doing, you are standing within it. His presence does not visit you anymore, it inhabits you. This is the completion of everything heaven has whispered, the fulfillment of everything faith has carried. We are reminded through the writings of David in the Psalms. Chapter 26, verse 8, Lord, I love the house where you live, the place where your glory dwells. That dwelling is no longer a temple of stone, it is your heart. The glory that once descended upon mountains now rests inside your very breath. The same light that filled the Holy of Holies has found its home within your ordinary moments. You are no longer chasing presence, you are the dwelling of presence. Everything around you begins to mirror that reality. The way you speak softens. The way you see people changes. You notice beauty again in simple things, the curve of a sunrise, the kindness in a stranger's eyes, the laughter that interrupts sorrow. Glory teaches you to see through heaven's lens. It paints ordinary life with eternal color. The manifested glory of God is not always seen in miracles. Sometimes it is felt in maturity. It is the quiet strength that keeps you from reacting, the patience that steadies your words, the compassion that disarms bitterness. Glory refines the heart until it reflects the one who placed it there. You will know its glory when peace no longer depends on circumstances, when love no longer demands reason. Glory steadies you when life trembles. It whispers through chaos. Be still. I am here. It does not remove struggle, it redeems it. Every tear you once cursed becomes a prism for light to shine through. As glory settles, so does gratitude. You stop asking, and you start adoring. Every breath becomes worship, every heartbeat an amen. You find yourself content, not because everything is perfect, but because you've realized that perfection is presence, it is being exactly where God has placed you. This is the beauty of the manifested glory. It doesn't always change what you see, but it changes how you see it. The same life you once resented becomes sacred ground. The same scars you hid become stories of mercy. The same silence you feared becomes communion. You begin to walk differently, lighter, slower, more intentional. You no longer rush through moments. You rest in them. You understand that the miraculous is woven into the mundane, that the divine has been walking beside you all along. Glory has turned your life into a living altar. When others look at you now, they won't be able to explain it. They'll sense something luminous, an invisible peace that lingers after you speak. It is not charisma, it is consecration. You carry the weight of heaven lightly, like a fragrance rather than a burden. Glory doesn't shout, it shines. It moves without motion, speaks without words. It finds expression in kindness, forgiveness, patience. It is the invisible evidence that heaven's light has met human clay and chosen to stay. You may look back at the years behind you and wonder how the ashes turned to gold, how the wounds became wisdom. That is what glory does. It recycles pain into beauty, turns loss into language, and transforms endings into beginnings. Now you stand complete, not perfect, but whole. Everything that once scattered within you has gathered around purpose. You understand that glory was never something to achieve, it was something to remember. You were born from it, called by it, and now you live inside it. The story that began in struggle ends in stillness. The storm that once defined you has become background to a new melody, peace. Heaven and earth meet quietly inside your spirit, and nothing feels missing anymore. Stay here a moment longer. Breathe in this fullness. This is what it means to arrive not at a place, but at a presence. The journey was never about escaping darkness, it was about discovering light that never left. You are the living proof that redemption is real, that faith fulfills its promise, that love never fails. The glory manifested is not outside you, it radiates from within, spilling through every word, every gesture, every heartbeat. You are home now. The waiting, the wandering, the wounding, all of it led you here. The light does not flicker anymore. It burns steady, eternal, and alive. The glory has found its dwelling, and it is you. And now, as the final words rest upon your heart, breathe in the stillness. You have walked through revelation, through fire, through silence, through light, and you have arrived here, whole. What began as a whisper became a journey, and now you stand illuminated by everything you've learned, everything you've survived, everything you've become. This is not the end, it's a continuation written in heaven's ink through the rhythm of your daily life. The message will keep speaking as long as you keep walking in its light. If this voice has met you in a sacred place, let your heart respond in its own way. When you like, when you share, when you comment, you are not completing a task, you are continuing a testimony. Each gesture becomes a spark that carries warmth to another soul still waiting for dawn. When you subscribe, you are not joining a channel, you are joining a chorus. A quiet multitude of hearts who believe that light still wins, that faith still heals, that love still reigns. Your presence in this space is another candle added to the constellation of belief that keeps glowing across the darkness. And if generosity stirs within you, let it rise gently. To give is to let gratitude take form. Every contribution becomes a ripple, a drop of light poured back into the river that once refreshed you. It's not obligation, it's continuation. You are helping the message move beyond your screen, reaching hearts you'll never see but heaven will. Like, share, subscribe, give each in its own way is an act of worship. Do it not because you must, but because you are moved. Do it as art, as kindness, as a living echo of grace. The story does not end here, it breathes through you now. Carry the light. Speak softly. Live brightly. The world needs your glow.